Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Quite stylish. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face. What is a boy to do?
Well, in the event that you guys are losing your ish right about now and wondering what the hell is going on, it's not Thursday. What in God's name is going on? Why is there a Therapy Thursday on a Friday? Well, unfortunately, we have a little bit of an emergency in the Reese on the Radio home. I begin by saying, hello, Carl.
Hello, Carl.
Hi, Carl.
Welcome to the show. It is Therapy Thursday on Friday. And let me explain to you what's going on here, folks, because a prediction that I made a long time ago has come true. And it is a prediction that I made a long time ago to a lot of you privately. These two individuals to my right were not privy to what I'm about to say right now. As you can see there's Ellis, Roseanne's son, my stepson. Yeah, I know. John Beckman said, what the hell is going on here? And to, of course, his right is his mother, Roseanne, my lovely wife. So what are we doing here? Well, what we're doing here is we are about to talk about those books that you see above us and the authors who you will see below us. And all of this involves our son, my stepson and Roseanne's son. What is the importance of these books? Well, you're going to find out today. One book is called Mask Off. And why is that so loud? I apologize if that's too loud. Let me turn my volume down.
Can you hear me? Am
Yeah,
I
you're
available?
fine.
Okay.
One book is called Mask Off. The other book is called Hood Feminism. One is written by J.J. Bola. That is the black man you see down there. And the other one is Mickey Kendall is the name of the book. And Ellis here is in an English class having to read both of these books. If you're not familiar with them and you are near a computer, folks, please go look these authors up now and these books up.
And make sure that you, like, I don't know, bring some eye bleach afterwards. It definitely helps.
Okay. Well, so Ellis was given these books to read, or he has to read these books in an English class, or for an English class, I must say, right? And the objective is for you to read these books and to write what could be essays, thesis, whatever. Explain what the purpose of these books, according to your teacher, says and what you have to do.
Allegedly, in my English 111 language comp class, I'm supposed to learn how to, how to write, how to, break down a book, how to write essays, research, the whole 9 yards. I have so far, in my 4 weeks, have not learned a single thing except politics in an English class.
Now, that's the importance of today's show. The reason why we're doing this today is because a realization happened in the educational system that Roseanne never really had to deal with until now. She heard these stories about teachers coming into the classroom and indoctrinating students about their own political beliefs. But it took this class and Ellis's junior year for her to literally get an in-depth look. I can't even call it in-depth yet because we're still scratching the surface on this teacher and the curriculum.
Correct.
Right? So what we're learning from what we've read so far, what we've been able to read so far from Mask Off by J.J. Bola and Hood Feminism by Kiki Kendall. Is it Kiki? Was that Mickey?
Mickey Kendall.
Mickey Kendall. What we've been able to learn so far is that every description of these authors includes the word activist. And that's the scary part about this, is because J.J. Bola's book right up there
You can't say
is Masked Off, which is redefining masculinity. It's challenging the theory of masculinity, that it can be, let's just say, a swath of different things. I'll read the review and the article written about J.J. Bola out of The Atlantic in a minute. Hood Feminism, on the other hand, is another book that critics are saying very, very mixed things about. Some people are saying that the book is no good. Other people are saying that it's structurally bad. And for an English class, people who are talking about the book as far as its structure is concerned defies it being in an English class, because that's what this class is that Ellis is taking, and he's using these books as a reference. Explain to everyone the most alarming part about the book Hood Feminism as far as your research is concerned. I want them to hear that.
So, I mean, what should I really talk about? Should like
about what you were allowed to research. And now I want to get your mother in on it.
Okay, so I walk into class. My lovely teacher hands me a paper. He's like, I have out the packet for the reading for the book I absolutely despise. And she says, you don't need the packet, you just need your brain. Immediately, I was like, okay, sure, whatever, all right. I read it. The first words are research in the book or in media. It was about, it was femicide? Yeah. We could talk about femicide, yeah. But I couldn't research anything in an assignment where I had to research something.
Right. You were told not to read the book or to go online, even though the curriculum suggested that you do that?
Yes.
It
However,
it clearly states that the syllabus states that they are to do research and utilize the material that was provided.
Right.
the problem is, even if I was allowed to use the book, there's nothing in there to research. All of the sources that she uses actively disprove her point in the book. It was talking about like how, I think it was 15% of black women 15% of the missing and murdered cases in Chicago are women. What about that other 85% that aren't female? What about that?
Or black women in general, which is the only demographic that this particular teacher is.
Apparently, only black women can get murdered in Chicago. I wasn't aware of this.
So let me read you some of the stuff to let you know why this is so alarming to myself and, again, Roseanne, because everything we've been researching about this has been really alarming. I want to start off with Mickey Kendall, the young lady you see right there, that young lady. I want to read to you one of the, let's just say, not so great reviews about the book. And again, this is a book that Ellis is being given. For an English course.
Can I just interrupt real quickly? This isn't just an English course for a sophomore or junior in high school. Ellis is currently enrolled in a program called the Dual Enrollment Program.
Right, good point.
When Ellis gets done, if everything goes according to plan, Ellis graduates high school with an associate's degree. English Composition 111, which is offered at Northern Virginia Community College, is the class or the institution at which Ellis is supposed to gain these college credits. So this is supposed to be a collegiate level literature or English composition class.
Right. Here's one of the reviews on Amazon about the book. This is from an actual purchaser. So it's not just some off-the-wall review. This is someone who read the book, who took the time to make the review. I quote, "Kendall adds her voice to an existing trend that could use more amplification. Namely, that so-called hood feminism is a radically different experience from privileged feminism. Her insights are good, but I felt that it might have been written in some haste and urgency to get the message out. And she's living in an online bubble without much notice of academia or old school activists who were out there long before the internet. It's a polemic, not a factual analysis. The book could use more context, as she expects you to already know details of current events, as I found it hard to figure out what or whom she was talking about at times. Too many sweeping generalizations, She doesn't name names when criticizing the online community, or when she's criticizing the online community, and she doesn't seem to know about The Bridge Called My Back, which came out in 1981 and says a lot of the same things. She also does not seem to mention old school feminists. Good or bad, Betty Friedan's feminine mystique is the poster child for what Kendall is criticizing, and rightly so. Pampered white feminists whose biggest problem is that they're not taken seriously in the workplace. But there are plenty of feminists of color out there too. Where is Bell Hooks? At times it seemed wordy and rambling. I found myself skimming superficially when I should have been focusing on the core message. Still well worth reading and a good first exposure to those still in the privileged bubble. Deeply passionate, and I believe insights are genuine, worth reading. This was a 3-star review. The woman says in this piece that it is rambling. This is a book that he's supposed to seek guidance from in an English class.
Right. And again, one of my arguments about this is that one of the first things that my son told me was expressed to him, whether overtly or covertly, is that there are more than only white authors out there, and she wants to expose the children to black authors.
Right.
Which I'm perfectly for. I believe in diversity. I believe in diversity.
Right.
I'm a feminist. I'm a woman of color. I know I look white. I'm a woman of color. Okay. I do believe in diversity. However, my biggest complaint in that piece is that when my kid goes off to an actual 4-year university and goes to take a composition or an English literature class, and he's attempting to communicate with his peers about Steinbeck or I'm drawing a total blank on any other author that has been read for at least 2 centuries.
Right.
My son is only gonna be able to talk about that hood chick feminist thing.
Who came out in a book in 2020.
Right. And can I just add that level of education is only further solidifying the belief that black students are incapable of keeping up. If you don't give them the same curriculum across the board, they're not going to perform on the same level because they've not been exposed to the same material.
It's a great point.
One argument.
Honestly, I want to put, I just want to insert,
Sure.
A lot of it is, like, it's very obviously geared against white people, especially white women. It's like painting them as like this, all white women, generalization, all white women, have forgotten about the black women, feminist women, and like, or the Latine, also her use of Latinx, which is a very personal, it's a very personal thing. Like
You're very, and you as someone who is part Latin or part Hispanic, yes. You took offense to the fact that she used the term Latin.
I can tell you right now, every single Hispanic was deeply upset by that. I was the only one who audibly groaned.
When she used the terminology.
I actually edited the paper to just say Latine or Latina because it's only talking about women. Like in no point is it talking about men.
Now, I also want to consider this, okay? And if you really, we laugh all the time at when we find out the credentials of the book that's being given to students by these teachers. And these are, again, academics. I believe this teacher has a master's degree, if I remember.
She has a master's in liberal arts.
Yeah, she has a master's in liberal arts. Again, a college professor. But here's the thing. She chose this book for young minds, okay? And I went to go look up this author. This is the woman right here, Mickey Kendall. I went to look her up, and this was the thing that caught my eye. If you look it up on Wikipedia, you will find this. I was looking to see if she had been, maybe she had gotten some esteemed awards. What was the reason why it was so relevant that this woman would be injected into the classroom? Like, she's got to have, like, accolades out the wazoo, Pulitzers, maybe? No. Unfortunately, we didn't get that good. We didn't get Pulitzer stuff here. Our son Ellis was only good enough for the 2017 winner of the Best Food Essay Award from the Associated Food Journalist for the book, I kid you not, for the book, Hot Sauce in Her Bag, Southern Black Identity, Beyonce, Jim Crow, and the Pleasure of Well-Seasoned Food. My grandma could have wrote that book.
And again, my biggest problem with this, and I need you to understand something. I need everybody to understand something. There are politicizations of academics that I disagree with. I don't believe LGBTQ plus agendas should be pushed in the classroom. Should we talk about inclusion and acceptance and tolerance? Absolutely. Right. Attempting to tell children how to behave and they should be or they might be, unacceptable. The only people that should be indoctrinating my child or anybody's child with their political views, their religious views, the only ones who should be able to do that are the parents. That's my job. I'll mess up my kid my way, you mess up your kid your way, and they'll figure it out, right? Now, when your accolades are hot sauce in a purse in 2017.
I'm sorry, I got to give him a props for that.
What are you telling my son is relevant about his ethnic origin? Yeah. That his wife or girlfriend should always carry hot sauce in her purse?
No, she's not a Republican. And you're absolutely right. She is a racist.
Who's a racist?
He believes that the author is a racist.
Listen,
we'll get to the comments in a second.
I will never make that assertion. I can, however, point out when I see bigotry. Yeah. I'm guilty of it myself from time to time. I think we all are. For absolute what's the word I'm looking for? Clarity here. But again, there's a reason why this myth that Black children are not able to hold up their end of the bargain academically is for reasons like this. I asked my son, and I took the English 111 class at Nova myself 6 years ago, something like that. One of the first things that I learned how to do was to read this book, mind you, and I've got another piece on that. Read this book, read this caption in this book, not just the caption. It was usually a textbook that had literary pieces in it. So you read this piece of literature, you're given an assignment, it's a writing assignment. Compare, contrast, argument, thesis, whatever it is, right? The very first thing that you're taught to do is create your outline. Very first thing you do, you create the outline, you submit it to your professor. Your professor reviews the outline, critiques it, corrects it, makes adjustments, hands it back. You get 2 or 3 chances at that, right? That is an English 111 class at Northern Virginia Community College. This teacher is not affiliated with Northern Virginia Community College.
I was going to get to that.
Now, the other thing I want to say about this literature she has my child reading, she didn't even give them the book.
That's correct.
She photocopied an essay. She photocopied an essay that she wanted the children to focus on. When it came time, when she hands them this assignment and says, here you go, answer this prompt. By the way, you cannot use the book, and you cannot use your phone or your computer to search anything online. Just use your brain. I'm sorry, what I'm hearing is only write what I told you. Yeah. Only regurgitate what you were told. How is that encouraging critical thinking? How is that encouraging my child to learn how to effectively write a collegiate level paper? That's where I'm concerned. And again, the only one who should be indoctrinating my child is me and his father.
Now, I do want to say that to begin with, when I entered that class, I will say wholeheartedly, I'm not great at writing essays. So I was really excited for this class to teach me how to write essays. Okay. So far, I have not learned how to write essays.
Well, you can't use this book as a reference because, of course, as the critic wrote, there's a person that gave her 3 stars, said it's poorly written. No. So I don't think you're going to learn it from, the woman who is an award-winning writer.
Can I just ask a question? Why is math racist, but teaching my son that the only people that really matter are Black women?
I don't know.
Math racist, but that ideology is not.
Is math racist? I mean,
apparently,
well, according
math is racist.
Now, I gotta say this in full disclosure. I said in the beginning of the show that I predicted that this was going to happen. And that was, as I've always said, this has nothing to do with my wife. This has everything to do with the curriculum. We argued over and over again about, I don't want to even say argue, that's too strong of a word. We talked about this over and over again, that the teachers in many ways were overstepping their bounds and trying to get children to learn certain things without the consent of parents. They didn't even include them in the curriculum in any way. And the way they were doing it was sneaky and kind of underhanded. It was until the boy realized as he's inside this classroom that just something was rotten in Denmark. Just it didn't sit right with him.
It was the moment. It was the second I got that packet and I read the first few pages. I was like, it's this class. This is the class that I run into a wall. This is the class that will be my downfall.
And I want to say, I'm not one of those delusional parents like, oh, my baby's so smart, but meanwhile he's eating crayons in the corner. Ellis started reading at the age of 3. Okay. Ellis has taken writing. He's a member of a writing club. Was the ladies who ran the writing club were like, oh, you're Ellis's mom. Your son is such an abstract thinker and a phenomenal writer. Yeah. Okay. Ellis reads and comprehends and thinks as an individual, independent of myself and his father, right? We did not create this person. All we did was we gave him the space to be able to formulate his own thoughts.
Self-identify.
Right. And, gosh, where was I going with this? I forgot where I was going. Anyway, Ellis has been an academically advanced student his entire academic career. I have advocated for Ellis's academic advancement his entire educational career. I had to go up to this school when he was in 3rd grade and force them to let him take the advanced placement test because we'd moved to a new school and they said, oh, he missed it. He's got to wait till next year. No, he's not. No, he's not. Young black boys in this country, when they are extremely intelligent, finish their assignments, then they tend to get a little bit talkative, playful, whatever. They become a distraction in class. Young black boys are disproportionately penalized and soon are labeled as problem children. That was never going to be my son. This boy doesn't walk in the street at night. He's not, banging gangbanger music. He's not smoking. He's not having sex. None of that stuff. This boy is very much an academic.
I don't want you to lose focus on what you just said there, because there's a very, very important thing that you said there. So the one thing that I love about you is that you didn't claim victimization there. So you said that they're boys who are disruptive because they're advanced and they find nothing to do with themselves and become young black boys and they become disruptive. You didn't immediately say, you didn't demonize the people who condemn them. You said he wasn't going to end up being one of those kids labeled in that. No. So you took charge of that and made sure that he was doing something academically that filled that time or that space.
Absolutely.
And that's a great thing. Let me get to this. This is an important thing, and I'll get to your comments in a second. This is an important fabric of this as well. And I wanted to get I wanted to make sure that I address another thing before we get into JJ Bola. Before we get into JJ Bola, I wanted to finish this up about the Hood Feminism book. Now, the Hood Feminism book goes very, very deep into something that Roseanne was trying to figure out, and I actually did enough research to find out. It does not, Mickey's book here, does not condemn men, black or white. She doesn't go after men. This book primarily goes after white women, and exclusively white women. This is an anti-white woman book. That's what this book is about. It doesn't, the feminism thing is a separation, if you will, of the races, and it's done in a very direct and meaningful way.
And can I just say that black and white women are not the only women in this country?
That's a good point.
I'm just saying.
They're definitely not even the majority.
In that pamphlet that she gave, she had one paragraph dedicated to the MMIW. One paragraph. Native American women go missing at a rate far greater than the 15% of black women killed in Chicago.
And mind you, it's not like she's not mentioning like other races, but she's mostly hyper-focusing on black women and LGBTQ people.
Now, let me make sure that I get that point across. This particular critique of the book, again, from Amazon, these people are confirmed purchasers of the book. This is by Sarah, who gave it 1 star. I read the 3-star. This is the 1-star review. And this review is not like, it's not hating. She gives a very thoughtful review, and I want you to hear it. Sarah writes, the premise of the book is good, but the execution fails. There are gross overgeneralizations, and all the evidence is anecdotal. There is a cowardice in blaming everything on white women. It is a new brand of feminism that keeps the pick-me-girl attitude because the author isn't coming for men, white or black. She's blaming everything on other groups of women. In one sentence, we breeze across the men are responsible for their own actions, followed by paragraphs of text blaming those actions on women. I'm pretty sure men can sit back and laugh while this book pits one group of women against another. Forget coming together to solve the mutual problems of patriarchy. I'd much prefer to read something based on actual research instead of opinion pieces created to cause divisiveness. Your Twitter feed isn't a reference point. Now, does that sound like hate, or does that sound like somebody who took the time?
It sounds like someone who is aware of the actual movement of feminism. Being a feminist myself, having raised my son to be a feminist from day one, my understanding of actual feminism is we just want a seat at the table. Mm-hmm. This author is saying, screw your table, build me a new one, I am the table.
I'm not above the table.
About everybody else. And that's the problem. And we talked about this earlier. There is this recent movement that I'm seeing in one demographic that unless your skin is dark enough, you're trash.
Yeah.
I am a woman of color. My son is a child of color. My daughters are women of color.
I'm darker than
but
this.
Because I'm not dark enough.
Right.
And my hair's not curly enough, I'm trash.
Your immutable characteristics will be your undoing.
I look white.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do we call that?
White.
That's called racism.
That's called racism.
Now,
golly.
and that's being taught to my child in high school. Now, one of the things I did mention earlier today was if this is the curriculum that my minor child who is legally not capable of making his own decisions, legally, not by my decision, the law, the federal law says that this child under 16 or under 18 is not legally able to make his own decisions. If you are going to provide my child with curriculum designed like this, at a minimum, the syllabus ought to have been signed by one or both of his parents.
Agreed. That's another point that I want to get into, but I want to read your comments first because there's a lot of them in here. And thank you guys for continuing to check out the show. Don K. I love you, Don. Thank you for showing up. Could you imagine the drama if I wrote a book called Hood Masculinity?
Oh, God.
Wait till we get to the next book.
Yeah,
God.
we're about to get to that one. I take it the author isn't a Republican,
No.
John Beckman, right?
No, she's not.
Ellis, can you be homeschooled?
Absolutely not. I do not meet the intellectual requirements necessary to educate my advanced child. He's far smarter than I am. And if you ever use that against me, you're grounded.
Michael A. says, I don't think the teachers agreed with this. They are being bullied by the administration. I will get to that, Michael A., and I appreciate that you saying that. Let me put this. This is the part we're trying to get to the bottom of now, and then we'll move on to J.J. Bola's book. The part that we are asking now, because we have a meeting with the school on Tuesday, which we're very, very, I'm excited to go. And it will be with the teacher who is teaching these books as well.
And all 4 of Ellis's parents. A young black boy with 4 actively engaged parents.
Yeah. So the purpose is, and we've already asked this question, we sent out an email, and the question went a little something like this, and we researched this, and this is why we asked. First, we found out that
Northern Virginia,
Northern Virginia Community College,
Nova
who
for short.
actually provides this dual enrollment for Ellis. There is no one who handpicks a teacher and follows a syllabus or curriculum and they set it out. So in essence, there's no oversight with Northern Virginia Community College.
One would assume that if Northern Virginia Community College is going to be involved in the dual enrollment process for a high school level, at a minimum, they would have one professor show up at the school to provide the services.
Right.
And literally, if you were here, you would see that his high school is literally across the street from the community college.
Right. So what we were thinking was, we were trying to find out, was there someone at Nova who was overseeing the actual curriculum, like what books were being provided to this class for the dual enrollment? Well, as it turns out, we checked out with Nova, and they literally don't have anything to do with the teacher. Like, they do not, this is not a teacher who teaches at Nova. This is a professor who has a master's in...
She's not a professor, she's a teacher.
Okay, a teacher who has a master's degree in liberal arts, who meets the qualifications to teach in the dual enrollment program.
Just enough
to teach in there, but there is no oversight from Nova. So whatever she's teaching, they don't, obviously they have no say on. However, now our question becomes, is there anyone at his high school that looks at the teacher when they walk in and says, okay, what are you teaching the children? What's in the curriculum? Did they vet the books that the kids are giving them? Why? The hood feminism aside, it makes sense to me why a woman like this teacher, would pick this, I don't know, this book. Why she would, because one of our other daughters actually had this teacher in the class, and it all makes sense. I get it. But then we get to J.J. Bola's book. Now, J.J. Bola's book is called Mask Off. And this is the part, this is the one that you really, really have to consider. So let me get to his, I'm sorry, it's right here. The book is titled Mask Off, Masculinity Redefined.
So and I just want to point out that that is a very suggestive image to have around children.
Yes, if you look at that, that is supposed to be a picture of genitalia or someone's face from the People's Republic of Congo. I did look that up.
Huh. So, just to preface, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything in this book is wrong. But that's kind of how it goes with most bigoted things.
Well, I want you to hear what the Atlantic wrote about the Mask Off book by J.J. Bola.
The Guardian?
This is the Guardian. I apologize. Thank you. One of the more welcome publishing trends of the past 2 or 3 years has been the glut of thoughtful books about modern masculinity. These include memoirs such as Howard Cunnell's moving account of his daughter's gender dysmorphia and reassignment, Fathers and Sons, and Thomas Page McBee's The Amateur, which recounts the author's preparations for a boxing bout against a cis male after transitioning. Several recent debut novels, including Garth Greenwell's What Belongs to You, Daniel Mangreel's One of the Boys, and Matthew Sperling's AstroTurf, have also explored this terrain. The pernicious of masculinist ideology is a recurring theme of Eduardo Lewis's fiction, The End of Eddie, History of Violence, and Who Killed My Father, and is also the center of Ben Lerner's forthcoming third novel, The Topeka School. J.J. Bola's contribution is unusual in that it is explicitly aimed at younger people. Before becoming a writer, he has 3 poetry collections and a novel, 2017's No Place to Call Home. To his name, Bola spent many years as a youth worker helping young people with behavioral and mental health problems. So he knows a thing or two about the feelings of insecurity and low self-esteem experienced by many young men today, while self-help gurus like Jordan Peterson nudge their readers towards the consolations of chauvinism, and in doing so fuel a grievance culture. Bola insists the only solution is to dismantle the entire concept of maleness as we have hitherto. Sorry, I always hate that word. As we have hitherto known, it is, and replace it with a masculinity that sees the necessity of the equality of genders. For it is not only not only survive, but to thrive. God, I hate friends. Jesus, I hate people this is English people.
This is British people.
Jesus, British people. Anyway, so you get the theme. They immediately go after Jordan Peterson, who teaches men to be masculine.
Chauvinists.
Yeah, and chauvinist is according to the Guardian author here.
So, just quickly.
Go ahead, what's your response? Because you've never read this book yet.
We have actually.
Oh, okay.
So, I have a vague understanding, but for the people at home who don't know, I don't know. What is chauvinism?
Okay. I'm glad you asked. These are young boys, so I appreciate it. Okay, so a chauvinist, in a sense, is, in their view, is to believe that a man works, a woman should stay barefoot and pregnant, she should not be, she doesn't make the same money as men.
A chauvinist is someone who takes the patriarchy to an extreme.
Yeah.
Oh, like Barbie.
Barefoot and pregnant, in the kitchen, shouldn't speak, gives her husband sex when he asks for it.
Subservient roles.
Yes.
And this, again, is not even remotely what Jordan Peterson teaches. That is a horrible character. Oh, sorry.
We're getting off track.
Well, he just does it. But Bowling here in his book is, in essence, is suggesting that the new approach to masculinity is, I don't want to use the term feminine, but an equal role of both genders.
And remember, guys, just real quickly, you are Kenough. You are Kenough.
Oh, goodness gracious. So, let's read. I forgot that. I want to read this real quick. Haggis writes, Dan Bongino referenced a great article today from Jason Riley. Oh, yeah. I love Jason Riley. He said on March 7, 2010, about the substandard schools, dropout factories, and their impact on black students.
Exactly.
But can Mickey define what a woman is? Great question, Haggis. Well, Mike says, this is the same argument parents make about keeping LGBTQ and CRT out of schools. Yes, and I'm going to make, and I made that point.
Right.
This is one of those things that people thought were outliers to Loudoun County, to Moms of Liberty. People really thought that this was happening in subtext or subgenres of our culture. And now Rosanna's getting a firsthand view of it.
I think that you're misrepresenting what I understood this, or how I perceived this.
Please,
right?
Please.
I don't believe that LGBTQ plus agenda needs to be taught to children. I just don't. I believe that tolerance of LGBTQ plus, just like we had in the 80s with the disabled, right? We had an entire campaign, my entire educational career, about the tolerance and acceptance of people with disabilities, right? Intellectual and physical disabilities. Now, I will tell you, CRT is grossly misrepresented. I really hate that people are still using that and calling CRT this crap that they're feeding children in schools. Unacceptable. Now, what I will say about what is going on with Ellis, for the most part, up until this time, Ellis's studies were based on studies.
Right, the curriculum.
It was curriculum based. It was the same crap that I learned a little bit differently. They got that Common Core crap, whatever. It's basically the same thing: reading, writing, arithmetic, right? Where I have a problem is, and I've said this before on your show, there are things that we don't need to teach other people's children. Right. I don't think that a transgendered person should come in and give a 13-year-old a lap dance. Not once have I ever agreed with that. Right. Not once have I agreed with those books that were inappropriate be in a library and or read to children. I don't agree with that. So don't misrepresent my perspective.
No, I never said that you agree with that.
What I am saying is children should not be politicized. Right. What they are actively doing is attempting to dumb down my child. Now I have a problem. Right. You want to teach my son something that is going to include him or open his mind to diversity and inclusion. If you're going to teach my son something about historical patriarchy and what it looks like today, sure. But Bola's book, based on the little excerpt that we listened to today, is attempting to tell my son that his brand of masculinity is a problem.
Right.
Do I have a problem with toxic masculinity? Absolutely. What is toxic masculinity? When I go somewhere and I have men pawing all over me, or I have men, oh, why do you dress like that if you're not going to talk to anybody? F you, bitch. I've had that happen. That is toxic masculinity.
Right.
What is not toxic masculinity is, I'm a strong black man, I'm a strong Latin man, I'm a strong white man, I'm going to work, I'm supporting my family, I have a traditional relationship with my spouse. That's not toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Toxic is an overt, aggressive behavior toward women that compromises our physical, mental, and emotional health. That's toxic.
Yeah.
What Bola is trying to say is that my son is toxic because he has a penis. Because of the way that my son was raised.
Mike says, and nobody recruits anyone to be disabled.
That's great.
It's a great point.
Actually, there was a movement in the late 90s, early 2000s where people were literally chopping off their own legs.
I remember early 2000s.
It was because of the insurance thing, right?
No, it was a body dysmorphia thing. People were literally cutting off parts of their body.
Yeah, it's a very So it lasted all the way into the early 2000s.
And listen, nobody's recruiting children to be LGBTQ+. The goal is to allow children to be who they are.
Well, okay.
You can't convince me to date white men. You just can't.
Okay.
You can't convince me to date Asian men or Hispanic men because I'm not attracted to them.
Wait.
I like black men. I'm sorry. I like black men. You cannot recruit me to only date black men.
I understand that.
If this is not your lifestyle, you can't be recruited.
I need you to hear me out, though.
Okay.
All right. I know you're saying that with a degree of hubris and arrogance that they're not trying to indoctrinate kids or lure kids into the LGBTQ plus IA movement. That is factually inaccurate. I'm not suggesting that for every group, but I'm doing a story on Monday on this High Tops program.
Never. Bears for life.
We're seeing everything about this that's going, there's a lot of lying. There's a lot of lying and deceitfulness, like the group High Tops, which is actually
it's probably people. I don't know what High Tops is, but like
High Tops is a curriculum. High Tops is a program that schools are using. In other words, they come in and they're supposed to teach children about inclusiveness. But here's what they're doing. So because parents can opt out of this class, what they do is they inject it into racial and diversity training,
which is what
parents can't opt out of.
Right. And again, this is why I have a problem.
Yeah.
It is up to me and his father to indoctrinate our son with our beliefs. I love you, and you know I love Carola, but your involvement in my son's political and social views are going to be very tertiary. It is up to his father and I ultimately to decide what we want this boy to learn. But being that Ellis is an abstract thinker, he's a critical thinker, he's an independent thinker. Ellis is getting his own view of the world, and he's creating his own view of the world. He's watching all of these different things, and he's creating his own perspective and his own political views. That's the way that it should be.
Right. And I think in this case, what we witnessed here, and I think there's, it's anecdotal. I can totally attest to that. But I think the reason why I wanted to do the show today and bring Ellis and bring Roseanne on today was I literally watched this young man days ago when he first brought this to our attention. I watched him critically think his way through this. Like he was explaining to us why he had a problem. What's so brilliant about this, and I almost feel like there was a good and bad that came of this. One, I find it disappointing that he had to be upset about it to the point where he was so outraged that he brought it to our attention. But the beauty of it was that he was a critical thinker enough to know it was wrong, bring it to our attention. And what was glowing was when we finally started going over the material, when we did our own research, we get to where we are now, right? Where we are now is we took one day, half a day, to start investigating who these authors were, what they were writing, and it turned out that everything he said about it was right. There was nothing he said was disingenuous or misleading or over the top. He wasn't exaggerating. This is clearly an indoctrination.
And not once did he claim victimhood.
Yeah, he didn't claim victimhood. He just said, and he almost left the class, and he was willing to do that regardless.
I'm sorry, I really would like to touch on that.
Okay.
Ellis had discussed with you, me, his father, his desire to drop the class.
Right.
And he made an appointment with his guidance counselor to talk about dropping the class. That day, the teacher emailed the counselor and described Ellis as, these were her words, Ellis is not prepared for this class at this time. He doesn't participate in class, and he's admitted that he didn't read today's reading. Right? That was her excuse to say, just go ahead and drop him. Now, my own interpretation of he's not prepared for this class at this time is suggesting that maybe he's intellectually incapable of grasping the concepts that she's attempting to teach. One could easily
believe
make that assertion, right?
Sure.
But my bigger problem is that once challenged by someone, her immediate response is not to attempt to engage that person and influence them or educate them.
Correct.
Her decision was get rid of him.
Yeah,
so can I actually add on to this? Because I remember, I think it was like the first day, and she was like, she was talking about her kid, or some kid that she had in her class last year, and apparently they always got in it for some reason, because he did not. He was like me. He didn't take like anything. He took everything that she said with like pounds of salt, not like a grain. I mean like actual pounds of salt. He was like on the offensive apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
Or that's how she made it out to seem. Now I will also say that I heard, don't quote me on this, that she got like in trouble for dropping me without having me sign the form. I heard this from Caleb.
Okay.
So yeah. She got in trouble for this, but I got in that class and I was infuriated. Like I came out that class like very, very quietly. Like my face was relaxed, but
fuming.
Like I was steaming.
Is this because of the dropping or just
no like yes, okay. But also like the weeks prior, I was furious.
Yeah.
I was like, she cannot be feeding us this BS. Am I allowed to cuss on that?
No cursing.
Okay, mother. Am I like I
special?
Nepo wife, I told you. Anyway, I left that class. I was like, she cannot be feeding us this BS.
Wow.
This is not real. Like I've never experienced that. Like teachers I've had in the past, they might have brought up. Jesus.
Might have brought up what?
They might have brought up politics for one reason or another, but they always like related it to the day's work. Mm. Good Lord. I come into this class. I feel like I've already talked about this. I come into the class. I'm like, okay, maybe this will, I'll get a college credit, weighted GPA, so it'll help my GPA out, help my chances to go to school, yada yada.
You went in it sort of aloof, so to speak.
That's why I was trying to get you to use this title.
Yeah. Plan.
That's why I was trying to give you this title.
Yeah.
I walked into a collegiate level English class and was lured with a false sense of security into a how to be a bigot class.
I don't think there's any other way. I don't think there's any other way to place it.
This is just the lowest, just disgustingest bigotry. I'm adding "ist" for dramatic effect.
Making me cringe.
Bigotry I've ever seen in my life. Ever. So far. And we're not allowed to argue this, at all.
And that's what a collegiate level class is about, right? You're supposed to be able to engage with your professor, but this is just the high school teacher. You're supposed to engage with your professor and express your views and your opinions and have a lively debate in the attempts to get one to see the purpose of this particular piece, right? One thing I would like to point out real quick, though, that I completely brushed over, intelligent young Black men are often categorized as problematic children, right? Their entire academic career is destroyed. Their self-esteem is destroyed. This isn't me just making some pretty fluff. This is actual academic documented research where students have gone, like college students writing thesis papers have gone into classrooms and watched this transpire over decades. that young black men who are highly intelligent often end up in the prison pipeline. They're punished and removed from classes for what female teachers typically tend to view as aggressive black male behavior, because they're not quiet and complicit and doing, what they're told. They're not like their typical young female counterparts. So for this woman to go ahead and remove my son from his class was exactly that. This black activist female just targeted my black son, my intelligent black son.
Right. And that's what you really take umbrage with.
And deeming him a problem.
That's what you take real issue with.
Absolutely, because I thank God that it happened at this level and not when he was younger.
Yeah. And I also want to make a point that I'm not the only person who has a problem with this. I talked to my friend, one of my closer friends, and another one of my friends that I knew from a couple years ago. We talked after class, like our first day, and I was like, did y'all learn anything about English? Like anything? Like, did you? And another, the star quarterback from my school had her same opinion.
Really?
He looked like, because he's white. He's a white kid.
Oh, wow.
He looked at me. He was like, wait, you have Miss Kane? I was like, yeah. He was like, it's way too political. He looked at me. He was like, that was the first time I ever bonded with him. It was over a bigot teacher.
Yeah, I want to also add in here that it's not just the male students that are having a problem with the teacher.
It's also one of my best friends.
Yeah, a young lady. I want to get back to the comments because they're flowing in here. And
we still haven't talked about mask off.
I'm going to get, what?
We still haven't talked about mask off.
Oh, no, I have. I read it. That was enough. Let me see. Ellis, always ask questions. This is how you learn. There is no such thing as a dumb question. Remember that, young man. John Beckman says that. Michael A says, Ellis, your voice is going to bring more voices to the table. You are a very brave student. Go for it. Michael B says, I like this young man. Reese, I think you found yourself a sidekick. He's been on the show before. Sadly,
I think he's saying I need to be on here.
Yeah, I know. Don K says, sadly, aggressive means nothing more than philosophical disagreement. Haggis says, shut up and sit down and don't think for yourself.
It's Haggis.
Right.
I call it's Haggis.
It's Haggis.
Yeah, I've been calling him Haggis forever. He's never corrected me. And Ellis, White Mike says, and Ellis, you got an introduction into third wave feminist leftism. And they said, and Haggis also says, good job. So I wanted you guys.
You're welcome.
Ellis is way more better spoken than Yusuf. If you're referring to Yusuf Kente,
yes, he is saying that you're both.
Who said that?
I know who that is, guys.
Yeah, he knows who Yusuf Kente is. All right, folks. Thank you for spending the time with us. Was something we wanted to talk about.
End the show early?
Because we always end it. We usually end it early on Friday, and right now we're pretty much reaching.
Well, I'm on. You might as well just go on for a little bit longer.
We're moving on, but we are definitely going to be back on Monday. I want to thank Ellis, of course, for sharing his personal story with us, and of course my lovely wife for wanting to do this show. To talk about this indoctrination nation that we're witnessing right now and seeing it firsthand. And I promise you, folks, we're calling it family hour now. We are going to have that meeting on Tuesday, right? So we will follow up Tuesday night to tell you how that goes, what we learned from that, and any of the questions that we already have, and we have already expressed here about said books and about the curriculum and about who's in charge of what it is that these children are reading. Roseanne?
I just want to say something real quick. Listen, this is a call to parents to be an advocate for your children. Nobody is listening to your children. Be the one involved in your child's life. I don't care if you agree with my political views or not. I don't care if you believe anything else that I believe. Your child is your responsibility, and if you don't take action, your child is going to fall prey, and your child is doomed. So be an advocate for your child.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, or possible ladies and definitely gentlemen, set your calendars for Tuesday, July 19th. September 19th for the Reese on the Radio and Company Family Hour on the chair couch thingamawhat's I'll workshop the name.
We're gonna get up out of here.
And maybe I'll be here every Tuesday. We'll see.
All right, folks. We'll see you next time. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the Radio. This
I'm Spectre. You can find me on the internet eventually.
my lovely wife, Roseanne.
That is Moth God Spectre. Moth God, one word, SPECTRE. I'll make a YouTube channel. You'll see.
Holla, holla, pop your collar. Because
Shameless plugs.
Goodness gracious. I don't even know what to do with this boy anymore.
You're welcome.
Have me on the show more. Look, even Haggis is saying the Ellis and Reese show.
Are you just going to call him Haggis just because he can't be called Haggis?
Yes.
Is that just what's going to be?
Yes.
All right. Haggis, that's your name now.
That's how you properly say Haggis.
All right. Okay, I guess.
You too, Michael A.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. John. And
Hey baby,
I'll
I
see you
hear
later.
the blues are calling. Toss salads and scrambled
Mommy lives
eggs.
here, so I'll probably
Quite
see you.
stylish.
Sorry.
And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face. What is a boy to do?